Adaku was a young girl living in a small African village with her father and stepmother. She had bright, curious eyes and a heart full of dreams. Life in the village was simple, but for Adaku, it was filled with challenges she never imagined facing at such a young age. Her mother had passed away when Adaku was just a little girl, leaving behind only warm memories and life lessons that Adaku clung to tightly. Her mother had always been gentle and full of love, telling beautiful stories that filled Adaku's heart with joy. After her mother's death, her father, Obinna, remarried a woman named Neka, hoping to bring stability back to their household. But Neka was nothing like Adaku's mother. She was cold, harsh, and often treated Adaku with resentment. While her father worked long hours on the farm, unaware of what happened at home, Neka made life difficult for Adaku. The young girl was given the hardest chores, scolded for the smallest mistakes, and rarely shown any kindness. Yet, Adaku never let bitterness take over her heart. Despite Neka's cruelty, Adaku remained hopeful. She dreamed of a better future where she could become a teacher and share stories with children, just like her mother once did with her. Her love for storytelling kept her spirits alive, even when life seemed unbearably hard. Adaku's journey was only beginning, one filled with trials, courage, and the determination to rise above every challenge life placed in her path. Every morning, before the sun rose over the green hills of the village, Adaku was already awake. The cold morning air bit at her skin, but she didn't complain. Her day always began with hard work. She fetched heavy pots of water from the stream, swept the dusty yard until it was spotless, and helped Neka in the kitchen, though her stepmother barely acknowledged her efforts. By the time other children were waking up, Adaku's hands were already tired, but she kept pushing forward. While working, Adaku often escaped into her own world of imagination. As she washed clothes by the river or weeded the small garden behind their hut, she created stories in her mind, tales of brave girls who overcame impossible challenges and found happiness. These stories gave her strength, filling her heart with hope even when life felt difficult. Despite the hard labor and Neka's harsh words, Adaku carried big dreams inside her. She wanted more than the life she knew. She wanted freedom, joy, and a chance to be someone who mattered. She wished to share the stories running wild in her heart with others, to see smiles on faces instead of scorn. But those dreams seemed far away. For now, Adaku had to endure the life she was given, finding beauty in small things, the laughter of children playing in the distance, the songs of birds as she worked, and the endless stories that filled her mind like bright stars in a dark sky. Even when her hands were rough and blistered, Adaku never let go of her hope for a better life. And though no one knew it yet, her journey was just beginning. Life had plans for Adaku, plans that would be filled with struggles, triumphs, and the courage to rise above everything holding her back. Neka's cruelty was like a shadow that followed Adaku everywhere, dark and heavy. From the moment Adaku woke up, Neka found ways to make her life difficult. She never spoke a kind word, only sharp commands and harsh insults. "You are useless, just like your dead mother," Neka would hiss whenever Adaku was slow to finish a task. The words hurt more than the blisters on her hands from scrubbing pots or carrying firewood. While other children played and laughed in the village, Adaku's days were filled with endless chores. Neka made sure Adaku always did the hardest jobs, fetching heavy pots of water from the farthest part of the stream, bending under the hot sun to weed the garden, and scrubbing the clay floors until they gleamed. Even when Adaku's small body trembled with exhaustion, Neka showed no mercy. "You'll work until you learn to be useful," she spat. But perhaps the worst punishment was hunger. After long hours of grueling work, Adaku would return to the kitchen, her stomach growling with hope for a warm meal. Yet, Neka would barely spare her a glance. While her stepmother and children sat at the table, eating bowls of steaming yam porridge or sweet plantains, Adaku was told there was nothing left for her. On some days, Neka would toss her a cold, dry piece of bread or a handful of leftovers, not even enough to fill her small belly. Adaku ate in silence, swallowing not just the food, but also the tears she refused to let fall. There were times when the hunger became unbearable, making her legs weak and her hands shake as she worked. Still, Adaku never complained. Her pride kept her strong. She remembered her mother's gentle voice telling her stories about brave women who faced impossible challenges and never gave up. Adaku held on to that courage, even when Neka's cruelty tried to break her. One day, after a particularly long day of work, Neka assigned Adaku an impossible task: to carry a large bundle of firewood twice her size from the forest. Adaku's knees buckled under the weight, and she collapsed on the dusty path. Instead of helping, Neka stood over her with a scornful laugh. "Look at you, weak and worthless," she mocked. "You'll never be anything." But Adaku didn't believe her. As she wiped the dirt from her face and gathered her strength to stand again, she made a silent promise to herself. One day, she would prove Neka wrong. One day, she would rise above this life and find her own happiness, far away from cruelty and pain. Neka's greed had no limits. As she watched Adaku grow into a strong and graceful young girl despite the hardships, bitterness brewed in her heart. She despised Adaku's resilience and the silent pride she carried. Neka saw Adaku as nothing more than a burden, someone who took up space and ate food she did not deserve. But one day, a wicked idea crept into Neka's mind, an idea that promised both wealth and the chance to be rid of Adaku forever. In a neighboring village, there was a wealthy but notoriously cruel man known as Master Okeke. He was feared by many, but his riches made him powerful. Okeke often brought young girls to work in his household, treating them more like property than people. When Neka heard that he was looking for another servant, she saw an opportunity. If she sold Adaku to Okeke, not only would she be free of her stepdaughter, but she would also gain enough money to live comfortably. But convincing Obina, Adaku's father, was not easy. Obina loved his daughter, though he was often too preoccupied with work to see how poorly Neka treated her. So Neka carefully crafted a lie. One evening, as they sat outside their hut, Neka spoke in a sweet voice, pretending to care for Adaku's future. "Obina," she began, "I have been thinking about Adaku. She is a smart girl, but there is no future for her here in this small village. Master Okeke is a rich and respected man. He has offered to take her in, give her a better life, and teach her valuable skills." Obina looked uncertain. "Okeke, I've heard stories about him. He's not a kind man," he said, worry etched on his face. Neka forced a smile, hiding the darkness in her heart. "People gossip, but think about it. She will live in a big house, wear fine clothes, and have opportunities she could never dream of here. Don't you want the best for your daughter?" Neka's words dripped with false concern, but Obina, weary from the burdens of life, slowly began to believe her. "I just want her to be happy," Obina said with a heavy sigh. "Trust me," Neka lied smoothly. "This is the best thing for her." That night, while Adaku slept peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing over her life, Neka sealed the deal with Master Okeke. She accepted the payment without a second thought, her eyes gleaming with greed. The wheels of betrayal had been set in motion, and Adaku's simple dreams of peace and happiness were about to be shattered by a journey filled with unimaginable hardship. The day Adaku was to leave came too quickly. The morning air was cold, but Adaku's heart was filled with a strange mix of hope and nervousness. Her father, Obina, had told her the night before that she would be going to a distant village to live in the home of a wealthy man. "It's a chance for a better life," Obina said, his voice heavy but hopeful. "You will learn new skills and be well taken care of." Adaku's young heart wanted to believe his words. Though she loved her village, she dreamed of seeing new places and perhaps finding happiness beyond Neka's cruelty. "Maybe this is my chance," she thought, clinging to hope. Neka, standing by the doorway, wore a false smile. "Be grateful for this opportunity," she said coldly. "Not every girl gets such a blessing." Adaku nodded politely, though something about Neka's tone made her uneasy. Still, she pushed the doubt away, telling herself that things would get better. Obina walked Adaku to the edge of the village, his weathered hand resting gently on her shoulder. "Be brave, my daughter," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "Remember, you carry your mother's strength inside you." Tears welled up in Adaku's eyes, but she forced a smile. "I will make you proud, Papa," she whispered. The farewell was quiet, but heavy with unspoken feelings. Villagers watched from afar, some murmuring their surprise that Adaku was leaving. She hugged her father tightly, her small frame trembling against his strong arms. "I'll come back one day," she promised, even though she wasn't sure what lay ahead. As the cart rolled away, carrying Adaku farther from the only home she had ever known, she looked back one last time. Her father stood still, his figure growing smaller with every turn of the wheel. Adaku wiped a tear from her cheek and focused on the road ahead, imagining a life filled with learning, laughter, and freedom. But what Adaku didn't know was that the road was not leading to a bright future. It was leading her straight into darkness, a world far harsher than anything she had ever known. Nneka's betrayal was complete, and Adaku's journey of pain, courage, and resilience was just beginning. The moment Adaku arrived at Master Okeki's compound, she felt the weight of something dark and heavy settle over her heart. The house was large and grand, with high walls that blocked out the outside world, but it did not feel warm or welcoming. Instead, it felt like a prison. Servants moved quickly and silently, their heads bowed as they scurried around, afraid to attract the master's attention. Adaku was led to a small, cramped room at the back of the house. The walls were bare, and the only furniture was a thin mat on the cold, hard floor. There was no space for dreams or comfort here. Before she could even rest, a stern woman with sharp eyes and a voice like thunder barked orders at her. "Get to the kitchen and start scrubbing those pots. I don't want to see a single stain left." Days turned into weeks, and Adaku's life became a cycle of endless work and harsh punishment. She scrubbed floors until her hands bled, carried heavy buckets of water that left her back aching, and cleaned the master's grand halls without a single word of thanks. If she made the slightest mistake, she was scolded, and sometimes even struck. Food was scarce. Dry pieces of bread and tasteless porridge were all she was given. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but Adaku endured it silently, refusing to let them see her weakness. Despite the cruelty, Adaku's spirit remained strong. She found small moments of kindness and friendship among the other servants. There was Amara, a girl with a gentle smile, who often shared her small portions of food with Adaku. "We have to look out for each other," Amara would say softly. Then there was Chidi, a boy with bright eyes who whispered jokes even when they were both exhausted. Their friendship gave Adaku the strength to face each day. At night, when everyone else slept, Adaku would sit quietly by the window, looking at the stars. She remembered her mother's words, "No matter how dark the night is, the stars will always shine." Those memories kept her hopeful. "I will not be broken," she promised herself. "I will survive this, and one day, I will find my freedom." Though Master Okeki's house was a place of hardship, Adaku's courage and determination grew stronger with each passing day. She refused to be defeated by cruelty, holding on to the belief that better days would come. One quiet evening, after a long day of endless work, Adaku sat alone under a tree at the edge of the master's compound. The cool breeze touched her tired face as memories of her late mother drifted into her mind. She could still remember those peaceful afternoons when her mother would sit with her, teaching her the art of weaving baskets. "It's not just about weaving, my child," her mother had said with a gentle smile. "It's about creating something beautiful, even when life feels hard." Adaku's heart ached with longing, but instead of giving in to sadness, she decided to try weaving again. She picked up some dry palm fronds scattered nearby and began to twist and fold them, just as her mother had shown her. Her fingers, though rough from labor, still remembered the skill. Slowly, a simple yet beautiful pattern began to form. Night after night, Adaku returned to her secret spot under the tree, weaving baskets in the moonlight. What started as a way to ease her pain soon became her escape, a source of joy in a world filled with hardship. As she created more baskets, her designs grew more intricate, with patterns that seemed to tell stories of hope, strength, and beauty. One day, Amara noticed Adaku working on a particularly stunning basket. "That's amazing, Adaku!" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. "You should show this to the market women. They would love it." At first, Adaku was shy and uncertain. "It's just something my mother taught me," she said quietly. But Amara insisted, and together they smuggled a few baskets to a kind merchant in the village. To Adaku's surprise, the baskets caught the attention of many villagers. "I've never seen designs like this," one woman said, examining the delicate patterns. "How much for this one?" asked another. Soon, word spread, and people began seeking out Adaku's creations. Her baskets became a symbol of beauty and craftsmanship, each one carrying a piece of her mother's legacy. For the first time in a long while, Adaku felt a spark of happiness. The baskets were more than just objects. They were proof that even in a place of suffering, something beautiful could grow. Adaku's hidden talent, nurtured by the love of her mother, was slowly becoming her path to hope and freedom. One bright afternoon, as Adaku sat by the market stall with a small display of her woven baskets, a tall man, dressed in fine clothes, stopped to admire her work. His eyes scanned the intricate patterns, his face filled with surprise. He was clearly not from the village. His polished shoes and confident air set him apart. Adaku, sitting humbly on a mat, lowered her gaze, unsure of what to expect. "Who made these?" the man asked, picking up a basket with swirling patterns that seemed to dance across its surface. "I did," Adaku replied softly, her voice steady but humble. The merchant's face lit up with admiration. "These are incredible," he said. "I've never seen designs like this, even in the big city markets." Adaku's heart skipped a beat. No one had ever praised her work like that before. "Would you be willing to sell more of these to me?" he asked. "I can pay a good price and take them to the city." Adaku hesitated. The idea of someone taking her humble creations to a place as grand as the city felt unreal. I can try," she said, her voice trembling with both excitement and disbelief. True to his word, the merchant returned the following week, paying Adaku handsomely for her baskets and requesting even more. With each sale, Adaku's modest earnings grew. The weight of hardship began to lift slightly from her shoulders. She could now afford better food and small comforts that had once seemed impossible. The villagers, who had once only known Adaku as a quiet servant girl, began to speak of her with admiration. "That's the girl who makes the beautiful baskets," they whispered. "She's going to be famous someday." Despite the sudden recognition, Adaku remained humble. Every basket she wove carried the memory of her mother's gentle teachings and her own journey of survival. "This is just the beginning," she thought with determination. "If I can come this far, I can go even further." Life, which had once seemed filled only with darkness, was now offering her a glimmer of hope. And Adaku, with her heart full of resilience and newfound purpose, was ready to embrace it. Adaku's life was changing in ways she had never imagined. With the money she earned from selling her baskets, she no longer felt like a helpless servant under the master's roof. For the first time, she could buy things for herself. Better food, a warm shawl to protect her from the cold, and even small gifts for her friends, Amara and Chidi. The weight of poverty and hunger that had once pressed down on her was slowly lifting. But what made Adaku truly happy was the idea of helping others. She remembered the pain of feeling worthless when Neka had called her useless and treated her as a burden. No girl should feel like that, Adaku thought firmly. She decided she would teach other young girls in the village the skill her mother had passed down to her, the art of basket weaving. One sunny afternoon, Adaku gathered a small group of girls under the shade of a large baobab tree. "Would you like to learn how to make baskets?" she asked gently. The girls, curious and eager, nodded excitedly. "My mother taught me," Adaku said, her voice soft but strong. "And now, I want to teach you." The girls watched closely as Adaku showed them how to twist and weave the palm fronds into beautiful patterns. Some struggled at first, their fingers fumbling with the leaves, but Adaku encouraged them with a smile. "Don't give up," she said. "It gets easier with practice." Slowly, the girls began to create their own simple designs, their faces glowing with pride. As days turned into weeks, more girls joined Adaku's weaving lessons. The once timid group became confident creators, their baskets growing more beautiful with each passing day. Adaku not only taught them the skill, but also shared stories of resilience and courage. "You are not just making baskets," she told them. "You are weaving strength, beauty, and hope into your lives." The villagers noticed the change. They saw young girls who had once been shy and uncertain, now walking with their heads held high, proudly carrying the baskets they had made. People began to say, "Adaku is not just a basket maker. She is a teacher, a leader, a symbol of hope." Adaku's heart swelled with joy. She had once been a girl who thought life would never get better, trapped in darkness and pain. But now, she was helping others find light and purpose. She had proven that no matter how hard life became, strength, kindness, and determination could weave a brighter future. Master Okeke was a man known for his cruelty and greed. He never cared about the well-being of his servants, only about how much work they could do for him. Adaku had lived under his harsh rule for many years, enduring endless tasks and scoldings. But as time passed, something remarkable began to happen. The baskets Adaku wove had brought unexpected fortune to the household. Merchants from the city frequently visited the compound, eager to buy her beautiful creations. With every sale, Master Okeki's wealth grew, and his name became known beyond the village. People praised the house with the girl who made magic with her hands. At first, Master Okeki ignored the praise, thinking it was foolish chatter, but as he watched Adaku's confidence and success grow, he could no longer dismiss her importance. She was no longer just a servant, she had become the reason for his household's prosperity. One afternoon, as Adaku sat under her favorite tree, carefully weaving a new design, Master Okeki approached her, his stern face softened in a way Adaku had never seen before. "Adaku," he said, his voice unusually gentle, "you have brought great honor to this household." Adaku looked up, surprised but silent. "I have treated you poorly," he admitted, his tone filled with something close to guilt. "But I see now that you are more than just a servant. You are talented, hard-working, and worthy of respect." Adaku's heart raced. Was this the same man who once ignored her hunger and punished her without reason? "I offer you your freedom," he said solemnly. "You are no longer bound to this house. You are free to go wherever you wish and continue your work as you please." Tears filled Adaku's eyes. Freedom, a word she had dreamed of for so long, but never thought she would hear from Master Okeki's lips. For a moment she struggled to find her voice. "Thank you," she finally whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. That evening, as she packed her few belongings, Adaku felt a wave of relief and pride. She had endured years of hardship, but her determination and talent had not only changed her life, but softened the heart of a man known for his cruelty. She was no longer a powerless girl. She was free, strong, and ready to shape her future on her own terms. The journey back to her village was filled with mixed emotions for Adaku. As the cart bumped along the dusty road, her heart raced with thoughts of home. It had been years since she left, and so much had changed. She was no longer the frightened, mistreated girl who had been sent away under false promises. Now, she was strong, independent, and proud of what she had achieved. But one thing weighed heavily on her mind. Her stepmother, Neka, Adaku's father, Obinna, was the reason she longed to return. She missed his gentle voice, and the way he always tried to protect her, even when he didn't fully understand the harm Neka had caused. "I hope he is well," Adaku whispered to herself, as she looked out at the familiar fields stretching toward the horizon. As the cart drew closer to the village, memories flooded back, playing with other children by the river, helping her mother weave baskets under the shade of a large tree, and the painful moments when Neka had treated her with cruelty. But Adaku was no longer afraid. She had faced far greater challenges and emerged stronger. When she finally reached the village, people stared in surprise. Many recognized her, but couldn't believe their eyes. "Is that Adaku?" they murmured. "She looks so different, so confident." Adaku didn't stop to answer their curious whispers. Her feet carried her straight to her father's hut. The door was slightly open, and inside she saw Obinna sitting quietly, his face lined with age and sorrow. "Papa!" Adaku called softly, her voice trembling with emotion. Obinna turned, his eyes widening in disbelief. "Adaku!" he gasped, standing up slowly. "Is it really you?" Tears streamed down her face as she ran into his arms. "It's me, Papa. I'm home," she sobbed. Obinna held her tightly, his voice breaking. "I thought I had lost you forever, my daughter." After the long embrace, Adaku knew there was one more person she needed to face. Neka. She would not return as a victim, but as a woman who had overcome everything meant to break her. This was her moment to share her story and reclaim her place in the home she had once been forced to leave. The sun was setting as Adaku stood outside the hut where Neka was cooking. The smell of boiling herbs filled the air, but Adaku's heart was focused on the weight of the moment. She had returned stronger, wiser, and filled with stories of hardship and triumph. Now, it was time to face the woman who had once made her life a living nightmare. Neka looked up from her pot when she heard footsteps. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw Adaku standing there, tall and confident, no longer the timid girl she had mistreated. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The air was thick with tension. "So," Adaku began, her voice steady but firm. You didn't think I would return, did you? Neka wiped her hands on her wrapper, trying to mask her surprise. What are you talking about? She muttered, though her voice wavered. Adaku stepped closer, her eyes never leaving Neka's. You lied to Papa and sold me off to that cruel man. You told him it was for my good, but we both know the truth. It was for your own gain. Her voice trembled with emotion. Do you know the suffering I endured because of you? The hunger, the beatings, the endless work, but I survived. I fought through it all, and I made something of myself. Neka's face paled as guilt washed over her. She had never expected to see Adaku again, let alone hear these powerful words. I didn't mean for things to get so bad, she stammered, avoiding Adaku's piercing gaze. I was jealous, foolish. I don't know what came over me. Adaku's chest tightened. Jealous. Of what? A child who had lost her mother, a girl who only wanted love and a family. Tears welled in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You hurt me, Neka, but I've grown stronger because of it, and I'm not here to seek revenge. I just want you to understand the pain you caused. Neka's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, Adaku saw something that resembled remorse. I was wrong, Neka admitted quietly, her voice breaking. I was bitter and selfish. I can't change the past, but I'm truly sorry, Adaku. Silence hung between them, heavy but healing. Adaku took a deep breath, releasing years of hurt. I forgive you, she said softly, though it wasn't easy. Not for your sake, but for mine. I refuse to carry this pain any longer. Neka's eyes filled with tears as she nodded. Thank you, she whispered. Adaku turned to leave, her heart lighter than it had been in years. She had confronted her past and reclaimed her voice. The scars Neka had left would never completely fade. But Adaku knew she was free now. Free to live a life filled with strength, hope, and peace. In the days that followed their emotional confrontation, a quiet change began to settle in Adaku's home. Neka, once bitter and cold, seemed softer and quieter. She no longer barked orders or looked at Adaku with disdain. Instead, she often sat quietly, deep in thought, as if reflecting on the pain she had caused. One evening, as the family gathered around a small fire for dinner, Neka hesitated before speaking. Adaku, she said softly, I know words are not enough to erase what I did to you, but I want you to know that I'm truly sorry. Her voice trembled with sincerity. If you let me, I want to make things right. Adaku looked at her stepmother, seeing not the cruel woman of her past, but a person who was genuinely trying to change. For a long time, Adaku had carried anger like a heavy stone in her heart. It had weighed her down through every struggle and victory. But now, she realized that holding on to that anger would only keep her trapped in the past. Letting it go was the only way forward. I forgive you, Neka, Adaku said gently, though tears filled her eyes. I don't want to live with bitterness. We can't change what happened, but we can choose to move forward. Neka's eyes widened in disbelief, and then tears streamed down her face. Thank you, Adaku, she whispered, her voice breaking. I promise to be better. For you, and for our family. Obinna, who had listened silently, smiled for the first time in a long while. This is what I prayed for, he said with a sigh of relief. Peace in our home. From that day, Neka made every effort to show kindness and support to Adaku. She helped gather palm fronds for basket weaving and even encouraged the young girls Adaku taught. The village noticed the change and spoke of how the family had healed despite the pain of the past. Adaku's heart grew lighter with every passing day. Forgiving Neka didn't mean forgetting the hurt, but it allowed her to reclaim her peace and happiness. Together, they rebuilt their family on a foundation of forgiveness, understanding, and love. Proof that even the deepest wounds could heal when hearts were willing. Adaku's journey of pain, survival, and triumph was now known across the village. She was no longer just a girl who had once been mistreated. She was a symbol of strength, hope, and kindness. With her freedom and newfound success, Adaku knew it was time to do something meaningful for her community. One bright morning, she gathered the women of the village under the large baobab tree, just like she had once gathered the young girls to teach them weaving. Some women were hesitant, unsure why Adaku had called them. Others were curious, eager to hear what she had to say. Adaku stood confidently before them, her voice clear and warm. "I was once a girl who thought life would never get better," she said. "But weaving changed my life. It gave me a way to stand on my own feet. And now, I want to share that gift with all of you." The women listened closely as Adaku explained her idea, a weaving cooperative where they could learn to make baskets, sell them at the market, and earn money for themselves and their families. "We can work together," Adaku said passionately. "We can support each other and build a better future." Slowly, smiles spread across the women's faces. Many of them had struggled for years to feed their families, depending only on their husbands' small earnings. The thought of being independent filled them with hope. Under Adaku's guidance, the cooperative flourished. Women who had once felt powerless now wove beautiful baskets with pride. They learned how to negotiate prices at the market, gaining respect from merchants and villagers alike. The sound of laughter and chatter often filled the weaving sessions as friendships blossomed. Adaku's name became a symbol of empowerment. Mothers told their daughters, "You can be strong like Adaku." She turned her pain into purpose. Visitors from neighboring villages came to learn from her, inspired by the success of the cooperative. Despite her success, Adaku remained humble. "This is not just about baskets," she would say. "It's about building a life where women can stand proud and free." Through her kindness, resilience, and forgiveness, Adaku changed not only her life, but the lives of countless others. Her legacy was a story of strength and hope, proof that even the darkest times could lead to a brighter, beautiful future. Adaku's life had been a journey filled with pain, courage, and triumph. She started as a lonely, mistreated stepdaughter, carrying the weight of sorrow and injustice. Her stepmother's cruelty had forced her into a life of hardship, and there were moments when Adaku felt as though she would never escape the darkness. But Adaku never gave up. Through her resilience and determination, she found strength where others might have broken. Her talent for weaving, a gift from her late mother, became the thread that stitched together a better future. What was once a symbol of simple survival became a tool for independence, success, and joy. More than that, Adaku showed the world the power of forgiveness. By choosing not to carry bitterness in her heart, she found peace and healing. Her courage to forgive Neka opened the door for love and reconciliation within her family. Adaku's journey was a lesson for everyone who knew her. She had proven that life, no matter how difficult, could take unexpected turns toward happiness and fulfillment. Her transformation from a mistreated girl to a respected community leader was a story of hope. Today, women across the village speak of Adaku as a symbol of empowerment and inspiration. They remember not only her baskets, but also her heart, the heart of a girl who refused to be defeated and who chose kindness over anger. Adaku's story teaches us all that even when life seems unfair, strength, forgiveness, and courage can weave a future more beautiful than we could ever imagine.